Hello everyone, Kaoz here, and welcome to another old-school RuneScape video. Whenever I make these videos titled something along the lines of OSRS is changing forever, I always think I'm exaggerating just a little bit. But with recent changes to the game, and a few more coming in the near future, our beloved point-and-click medieval fantasy browser game for children will actually receive updates that will change the early, mid, late, and even the end game forever. Strap in because we have a chunky one ahead of us. Boys and girls, for every new subscriber and a like on this video, my puppy Moneda will get a new toy and a kiss on the forehead. You don't want to miss out on future guides for all of the content talked about in this video, and you can join our Discord server with the link in the description to play with me and our amazing community. I haven't made one of these videos in a while, so the format is the following. We will talk about recent changes that made their way into the game just to keep you up to date in case you don't like reading blogs just like me. We will then move on to future content planned for the third part of Alamor, which has me extremely excited just as I'm writing this script. Boys and girls, let's talk about what Jagex has in store for us hopefully in the first half of 2025, and let's begin. First, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, run energy changes. If you watched the last week's video, I said this. Lastly, for agility, keep an eye out for future updates because there's a potential change coming to run energy to make agility more meaningful, and not having to rely on stamina potions all the time. This is not even a beta yet, so don't get too excited. The blog says that they held 3 different betas for these changes in order to tweak them to the community's liking, but I'll be completely honest and say that I didn't participate in any of them, because I thought that any changes would just make the system better, and I didn't even worry about it. I think all of us have been in this position. You are either a returning player getting into OSRS after a few months or years, or you start a brand new Iron or Hardcore account to experience the game all over again. A thing you would quickly notice is that run energy doesn't really last too long. After training agility for a few levels, and even after getting your graceful outfit, I personally still found it frustrating how quickly run energy would deplete. This would be even worse if you're an Iron account without access to stamina potions, and your saving grace would be something like a strange fruit or low-level energy potions, just to make getting from one place to another more bearable. I think the first iteration of these proposals made it a little too complicated, when the general feeling towards run energy was pretty simple. Make agility more meaningful and restore energy quicker. And this was even before Leagues 5, where pretty much everyone wants unlimited run energy, but that's besides the point. If you want a quick summary of these massive changes, they are exactly that. Run energy restoration has received a massive buff at lower levels, and energy drained is now slower in all scenarios involving agility levels and the character weight. If you want to get a little bit more technical, before these changes and at level 1 energy, getting all the way back to 100 run would take forever. And although the more levels up would help, it still felt like an eternity if you didn't have something to restore with. After today's changes, you can expect your bar to go from 0 to 100 in 12 minutes and 30 seconds, and at level 99 it will only take 4 minutes and 10 seconds. The other element of this change is how fast energy drains and how it is affected by both your agility level and your weight. In the past, the heavier your character, the faster energy would deplete, and agility level wouldn't really have any impact on it. Now, your level plays a big role as to how fast energy drains, so in simple terms, the higher your agility level, the slower you would lose energy, whether it be at 0 kilograms or up to 64. This update went live on Wednesday, January 8th, and on that day I streamed the Corrupted Gauntlet for a little bit. I was extremely surprised to see that I didn't even need an Eggnull potion to go around the map finding resources. In the past, looking into 8 or 10 rooms would put me dangerously low on energy, and I needed to make a potion on my first trip to the preparation room. This time around, I only really needed to drink a dose when I have my weapons and armor on me, but best case scenario, now you don't even need a single dose up until the Hundle fight. In conclusion, this is one of the best changes in recent memory because I personally don't see a single drawback. It's not like Jagex made it so agility is less important at lower levels and it starts shining at, let's say, 60s or 70. This will positively affect every single account from here on out, and this is a huge first update of the year, so massive props to Jagex. And now we get into future content. Hold your horses because we are not talking about the main topic just yet, but rather give you a quick summary of something I also mentioned in my 180 tips and tricks video. It may not be one of the worst skills in the game soon, because the third part of Alamor coming in 2025 will give us a new way to train fletching. So keep an eye out for future guide and also for a more interactive way to train this snooze fest. The third part of Alamor will bring with it a new way to train fletching. And if you ask me, despite skills like mining or smithing being severely outdated, not in terms of training methods, but the entire core and leveling system, which is a story for another video, fletching is definitely something that deserves some love going into another year of the game. So if I ask you, how would you train fletching? Your answer would probably consist of the following. AFK fletching unstrung bows for a little bit of GP, making bolts or darts for extremely fast experience, or the less popular training methods that include making arrows or even wooden shields. If I made another account, fletching is a skill I would absolutely dread getting to 99 again. Hell, even with 16 times experience multiplier in the league, it was one of the worst things I did for points. The final done will bring a brand new activity to make fletching more interactive, and will offer great rewards to make the skill just a little better for both the activity itself, and in case you want to train with the aforementioned methods. Remember that this is still just a proposal, and it may change before it arrives to the live game. This activity is aimed at players with 50 plus fletching, and this is a quick summary of how it would work for now. Around Valimor, you will pick one of multiple locations to make totems. This area would feature different animals, and your totem will need to represent the 3 most common ones at the time of starting the activity, which will change over time. You will gather lumber around the same area, and the higher the tier of wood, the longer your totem is going to last. This will allow you to keep the site active for more time, which will attract ends without having to maintain the totem too much. This means that you can make them add more sites to attract even more, and lead to higher experience per hour. With lumber in your inventory, you will place it in a hole on the ground, and carve the previously mentioned animals on it. Here's where it gets interesting. You can use your current unstrung bows, crossbow stocks, and wooden shields on the totem for decoration. Or you can use a new ones at the site to add them to the totem. Jagex will hook us up with banks near these areas in case you want to restock. When done, these ents will pass by your totem and pay their respects, which will leave offerings behind, which will stay on the ground indefinitely until you pick them up. Doing so will award you with experience, and a chance to get some pretty cool items based on the tier of the totem. Jagex tells us that there will be some downtime between these events, so you have just a little bit of time to train at nearby banks for more experience. I won't talk about the rewards too much because these are not final, but they include a bowstring spool to store up to 270 bowstrings to make more bows in one go, a fletching knife which would have a chance to make wooden items 20% faster, items you would trade at the forestry shop for whittling blades, which would automatically give you arrow shafts when cutting trees, and an item called an Ent Branch, which will give you a 50% chance for some hunter traps to automatically reset themselves if they fail. These all sound pretty cool, and I can't wait to see the final iteration of the rewards and what they are going to look like. Alright, so that was about it for the quote-unquote less exciting part of a recent update and a future update. And now, let's talk about massive changes coming with the third part of Valimor. And just like almost all my videos, I will order them from, in my opinion, least to most exciting. But that doesn't mean the first one is bad. First, the main and final adventure in the Twilight Emissaries questline is called, unsurprisingly, The Final Dawn. This master level quest will offer a new melee weapon which doesn't have a name yet, and will require 60 attack to wear. This will come to rival the Dragon Scimitar, although won't match this iconic weapon's strength bonus. The catch is that it comes with a pretty cool special attack as opposed to the Dragon Scimitar. When activated, this attack will cost 50% energy to perform an attack with 50% increased accuracy, and it deals 50% increased damage on a successful hit. I know, lots of 50s. Not only that, but if you land a hit, your target will be inflicted with burn, dealing 10 damage over 24 seconds, including any NPC within 1 tile of the original target. We will have to wait and see how difficult the new quest is to decide between going for the Dragon Scimitar in the mid or even early game as soon as you unlock Protection Prayers, or if this new weapon is enticing enough for people to want to challenge the final boss for this cool new reward. Of course, you want to get a quest cape on your account anyway, and it will be a matter of seeing what the minimum requirements needed for this quest are to give the mid-game a brand new weapon instead of the old-fashioned Dragon Scimitar. If you thought the second part of Valimor came in to add even more content in the form of a brand new Iced Theme Slayer dungeon, we're about to get yet another one, although no clue yet as to how big it will be, for it to host a wide array of creatures along with a new addition to the game. The Custodia Stalkers will roam around the Custodia Pass, a new area that marks the border between Karen and Valimor. Given my previous track record of jokes not landing, I better avoid mentioning anything about a wall. Completion of the Final Dawn quest will grant access to this new area with a cool new item. Inside you will find 3 tiers of Custodia Stalkers, needing level 54 Slayer to kill the juvenile one, 67 for the mature one, and 76 for the elder one. They will be chunkier the older they get, and although nothing is said about their drop rates, you will have a chance to snag a new helmet called the Antler Guard. This is an extremely interesting head slot item which features great offensive stats, but massively negative defense stats. Jagex says that this will encourage players who feel confident in their prayer switching abilities, because this helmet will be among the best items to wear for combat, excluding a Slayer helmet. It has 5 strength bonus, making the 3rd best in its category, 2 range strength bonus, which ties the Masori mask for the best in slot, and the best Mage offensive bonuses in the game for the head slot, although with no magic percentage bonus. This will surely remove the need for helmet slots in some situations until you're able to afford the Torva helmet, Masori mask, and the Ancestral hat. Other than this, we know nothing about their standard loot or other monsters around. And now for what all of you have probably been waiting for, a new difficult challenge with a ton of game-changing rewards. I will talk a little bit about the challenge itself, and then the items, for which I have a lot of information to give you guys, so you are well informed on voting on the poll and make your voice heard on social media. This new encounter will be called the Doom of Mokayoto, featuring a boss seemingly called the Otso-ayak. We will experience the very first mechanic of its type in old school RuneScape, which the devs are calling the Delve system. If you've never heard about this, let me give you some context, and be prepared to cope because we will talk a little bit about RuneScape 3. If you remember one of my previous videos, I mentioned how the Tombs of Amascut invocation system was somewhat inspired by a RuneScape 3 boss called the Arch-Glysaur. Before the fight, you will be able to select how many mechanics you want to engage with in the fight, and the more difficult, the better the chances at its extremely expensive uniques. The Tombs of Amascut took it to a whole new level with over 40 invocations that increased the difficulty from 0 all the way to above 500. I'm not saying the new Delve system is directly inspired from RuneScape 3, but has big similarities to their system called Enrage. When you defeat a boss multiple times in a row, this increases their Enrage, meaning they will deal more damage from basic and special attacks. Bosses like Araxor, Telos, Arch-Glysaur, and Zamorak boast more loot if you're able to defeat them at higher Enrage, and I think this goes up to 4000% for an exceedingly difficult challenge for normal players. In old school RuneScape, this mechanic will be known as the Delve system. Let's talk a little bit about it and then the rewards. You will fight the otso-ayak normally, and when defeated, it will descend down into its burrow. Chasing it will further increase chances for unique loot, but this will obviously make the fight more difficult. This progress will have to be done all in one run, and it's not like you can go to a specific level of the fight to challenge the final phase. In order to make it to the end, you will have to best this new boss a total of 8 times, each with increasingly higher difficulty and the loot potential. Once you find yourself in the 8th and final level, you can fight the boss as many times as you can survive, but dying will mean that you will lose all your loot. This is an endgame encounter aimed at players who have done the Inferno, or are near completion. The deeper the level means that the boss will attack faster, you will have smaller reaction time for special attacks, you'll have to deal with more mechanics, and at level 5 and beyond you will also have to avoid environment attacks and even more special attacks. While not a lot is known about this boss, and I really hope it takes longer than 24 or 48 hours for the first completion to give endgame players something to work for, I really hope this new encounter uses some mechanics seen in the echo bosses featured in Leagues 5. This is definitely the high risk versus high reward factor the high level community has been waiting for a long time, but if you ask me, maybe 8 levels doesn't sound like a lot. I guess we will have to wait to see how challenging this is, because rewards coming from this new encounter look absolutely juicy. Let's start with something simple. The Diabolical Aegis will be a new 2-handed weapon requiring level 75 attack and strength to wear. According to Jagex, this aims to fill the Demon Bane gap on the Crush style. Although with items like the Ember Light, the Scorching Bow, and the Purging Staff, I'm not really sure if we need this. The blog mentions that the weapon will be useful against the otso-ayak, hinting at the fact that we will get another demon-type boss. This item doesn't have a special attack, but will feature a pretty cool passive effect. When you deal a killing blow to a demon-type enemy, this will reset your attack delay so you can keep attacking. To me, this sounds like you'll be able to attack another monster one tick after killing a demon, so maybe there will be a mechanic with weak demons to kill them quicker, like the ice blocks for the Amoxliatl. This new weapon will also be useful at any boss where you would want to use Demon Bane weapons. Monsters like the Abyssal Sire or Abyssal Demons, Cerberus or Hellhounds, and any type of lesser, greater, or black demon will shake at the sight of this new powerful item with a pretty cool name. To wear it, you will need completion of the Final Dawn quest, which is a pretty cool requirement. If you like using thralls, we are getting a big buff to them thanks to an item that doesn't have a name quite yet. You'll be able to equip this consumable item in your ammo slot, and not only will it give thralls a buff to their damage, but when they vanish, they will go back to you instead. Any enemy caught in the path between where the thrall disappeared and your current location will be dealt a little bit of damage to make the most out of your thralls. This is a little confusing for Masters and Grandmasters because the thralls will last longer, but we'll see how Jagex handle this. The second most exciting reward is an item by the name Avernic Catalyst. This tradable item will let you combine the Primordial, Pegation, and Eternal boots into a single, best-in-slot boot called the Avernic Threads. Both the consumable item and the boots themselves will be tradable, and to make them you will need level 80 in strength, defense, ranged, magic, and smithing. This new item will retain the same offensive bonuses with a pretty chunky boost to the defensive numbers. And although it has the same strength and the magic strength bonus as the Primordial and Eternal boots, this will be the new best-in-slot item for ranged, giving us 1 ranged strength bonus for the feat slot. Something never before seen in old school RuneScape. Just like any update, if you don't have these items now, by the time you're watching this video, it's kind of already too late, because especially the Pegation boots have spiked in price after remaining stagnant for a long time. This would be the perfect opportunity to do medium clue scrolls and snag a pair of ranger boots to make a ton of GP if you're feeling lucky. And now for the cherry on top. This new difficult challenge will come to close out the combat triangle for best-in-slot capes. We have the Infernal Cape from the Inferno, the Dishonest Quiver from the Fortis Colosseum, and the Doom of Makayotl will offer a brand new, best-in-slot mage cape in the game by the name Eldritch Veil. The initial reception of this item had the community a little upset, and for once I kind of agree with them. So let's see what the fuss is all about with this item. First, it offers a whopping 20 magic offensive stat along 3% magic damage bonus. The drawback is that it provides no defensive stats, and the most confusing thing of all numbers-wise is that it has a -2 prayer bonus. Before this item, the only thing that in the entire game that provided negative prayer are the Ancient Staff and the Ancient Scepter. I have no idea why Jagex did this, but I'm pretty sure that with enough backlash on social media, we can negotiate at least a -1 or even 0. Now, get ready for this because this is where things get even more confusing. If you have ever wanted to buy an Infernal Cape or a Dishonest Quiver legally, well, now you can. For some extremely strange reason, this new encounter will drop an item called the Demonic Mark. And although the Eldritch Veil will be an untradable cape, in order to make it, the Demonic Mark is actually tradable. Jagex's reasoning behind this is that the Doom of Makayotl is not a wave-based encounter, but rather a traditional boss with increasing difficulty, and the drops themselves will actually be tradable, so apparently they don't want anyone to be locked behind bad luck, not letting them obtain the new best-in-slot mage cape as a guaranteed drop at the end of the run. This makes absolutely no sense for an item that should be considered a high-level achievement, and if anything, guaranteeing the cape on your first level 8 run, but giving the Demonic Mark some other use, or even introducing another item will be the way to go. I'm not a developer or anything, but if you ask any player, I'm pretty sure they will tell you that part of owning an Infernal Cape or a Dishonest Quiver is being able to say that you got it on your own, and that you beat one of old school's most difficult bosses. As for a final cope session, and one of the very few times I agree with the Reddit goblins, is that as long as the shadow exists in the game, we are never getting any meaningful magic items anymore. The fact that the new best-in-slot magic cape will provide a single magic damage bonus just because we are afraid that the shadow is going to be even more powerful is pretty sad. At this point, I think we will need to talk about some shadow changes and not be scared of offering cool new magic rewards in the future. But that's a story for another video. I really hope Jagex changes their mind about this, because despite me liking every single thing we talked about in this video, the fact that we even proposed a tradable best-in-slot cape completely blew my mind. You can let me know what you think in the comment down below, but for now, all we can do is wait to see if any of these changes based on the feedback, and I honestly cannot wait for the third part of Alamar. Boys and girls, we made it to the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed and you're as excited as I am for these future changes. If you did, tell me what the most excited thing you are about and why, and if you include the term RSN and your username in your comment, you'll be entered in our weekly bond giveaway, for which we will pick a winner on Friday's stream. I want to give a massive thank you to all the channel members who have decided to support this project monetarily. Every single dollar goes towards supporting my wife and my puppy with our daily supply of tacos and beans. If you like what I do here, click the join button below to see all the cool perks you can get in the videos, in the live streams, and in the Discord for a monthly fee. In the next one, I will actually put some wiki moneymakers to the test, because I just needed to upload this video to talk about future content. For now, I hope you have an amazing day, have an amazing week, and I will see you then. Peace.